Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide, visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on Carvana. Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with Kevin Day and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire. Kieran, I'm chuckling because every now and again I say to Ali, he's going to run out of new ways of counting me in too. But no, you never do. You always find a new way of counting me in. How are you this Wednesday morning?
I'm okay. I went for my first run yesterday since I was banned from running, and I'm a bit pained by it all. Sort of the muscles aren't used to the activity. I managed to. Part of the reason why I'm doing this is that I was running the Dublin Marathon a few years ago. And I was just zipping along, having a really good time. Got to 21 miles, felt my knee go, and I thought, well, I've got personal best on here. I'll carry on, and limped my way to the running line. And I've had 2 failed operations since then. I've been banned from running, but I'm desperate to get back. So I spent a lot of time in traction with a spreadsheet, sort of building things up, which is indirectly led to this podcast.
Well, I find new things out about you every week, Kieran. I didn't know you'd been banned from running. And what's happened to the bike? Are you bored with the bike already because there's no pedals?
Oh, no. I've been told that's the reason why I got the bike. But I've been told to cycle because it's less of an impact activity. But it's not the same. I love running. Absolutely love running.
Well, it's like the old joke. I run 10 miles a day. The only problem is I've got to get 70 miles back home on Sunday. Who banned you from? It wasn't the Baroness who banned you from running then?
No. It was it was the surgeon.
It's a very pleasing carry-on image of you in traction while Nurse Barbara Windsor fusses around you, saying, "What are you reading? Oh, you and your spreadsheets, you'll never get better with yours." You leaning your spreadsheet up against your injured leg while Sid James accidentally bites your toe for no apparent reason. I'm walking because it's the Palace for Life Marathon March coming up start of October, so I'm getting back into shape for that, which I'll let people know how to sponsor me in a couple of weeks' time. We're all quite chipper today, Kieran. Even I'm chipper today, Kieran, because the inner Morecambe fan in us all looks like we can come out from behind the sofa. It looks like all Morecambe fans can finally, Kieran, come out from behind the sofa, rub their eyes and think, was it all a dream? Because it's over, Kieran. Is it over?
It is mainly over,
Right.
and the exciting thing for Morecambe fans is that this Saturday they're at home to Altrincham, and the National League has lifted the suspension in terms of their ability to play football and had the deal not gone through this week, I think they would have been expelled. So I think that is a positive. The embargo that exists in terms of transfers for Morecambe Football Club, however, still remains. My understanding, and this is from news from a sort of a day or two ago, is that the June wages have been paid, that the new owners are planning to pay the July wages ASAP, but they also have to pay any outstanding football creditors. That includes players and staff, and they also have to pay any arrears to HMRC. So that has to go through before they can fully recruit players for fees and so on. But they can still pick up players on Bosmans and so on. So just to give you sort of a bit of a background, the deal was announced. Panjab Warriors, despite being accused of this, that and the other by our not good friend, Jason Whittingham, are the new owners. So a settlement was made. As far as Panjab Warriors are concerned, let's start off with the positives. I did some investigation, and my understanding is that they passed the EFL owners and directors test a few months ago when the deal was originally announced. And I know some fans are cynical and a bit negative towards the EFL, but they have really upped their game under the new regime, and therefore not only Panjab Warriors must have been able to provide evidence of funds, they must have been able to provide evidence of source of funds, and presumably also they would have had a budget for the next couple of years going forwards. The reservation I have, and it's only because we've been through a few rocky changeovers in terms of owners, and we wish Panjab Warriors all the best. Panjab Warriors, however, it's a £100 off-the-shelf company. And if you take a look at what Panjab Warriors are down to do, sort of in terms of the directors, buying and selling real estate, for me, that gets a little bit twitchy. It says, okay, yes, sports clubs and buying and selling real estate. That makes me wonder, what are their plans? The first thing that they did was they sacked the manager, Derek Adams. And I've taught Derek on occasion because I teach for the League Managers Association. He's a thoroughly nice guy. He's a thoroughly good guy. Looking at some of the comments which came through on social media, I think a member of staff said, Derek Adams paid my rent over the course of the summer because I wasn't being paid. So that's indicative of the moral and ethical compass. So we do now have a new manager, and it's the first Sikh manager of a football club in the top five, which is to be welcomed, to be encouraged. So yes, I'm delighted that the deal's gone through. Yes, I'm delighted that they're playing on Saturday. It would be useful to see sort of what's happening at the company itself. Are they issuing more shares? Are they getting their finances for X, Y, Z? Just really for peace of mind as much as anything else. But yes, it's good news.
A couple of things, Kieran. When we spoke to Tanya Ellsworth, who was then chair of the Morecambe Supporters Trust, I believe she stepped down since because she's knackered, I think was the word that was passed down to us. The real estate thing's interesting because I believe there is some kind of long-standing historical bond dating back to the original owner of the club, which means the ground can only be used for football, I believe. So which may, again, that's something we need to research the full details, but that might reassure some people, and you would hope that Panjab Warriors are fully aware of that. The big question, of course, is, Kieran, this has been going on for so long. Morecambe fans have been out of their mind with worry over the whole summer. And then suddenly, Whittingham selling the club to the people he said he would never sell the club to. And he had 3 or 4 other people he was going to sell the club to before he even thought about these people. So why have they been put through this? What changed? Is it as simple as assuming that they upped their offer, or has he just got fed up himself? Why did it suddenly happen? And I'm just actually really angry that it took so long for this conclusion to happen when it could have happened 3 months ago, Kieran.
Right. Well, I mean, I'd agree with you. My understanding also is that there's some form of restricted covenant over the football ground. So therefore, if that restricts it being used for residential purposes or for commercial purposes, then even if you are involved in buying and selling real estate, you're going to struggle. Although, we've covered other clubs at lower levels where what the owners do is that they say, we're not going to use it as a football club. And then they wait, they play a game of, we've got it, we'll hold on for it for a few years, we'll let the ground go to rack and ruin, and then the council's got a local eyesore. So does that mean that they will cave in? And some people say that this was the strategy being employed by Steve Dale at Bury Football Club. Wait for Gig Lane to effectively become such a local eyesore and it was also a danger to public health, that making it allowing it to be used for alternative purposes would become a least bad option. But I don't want to put any of those accusations towards Panjab Warriors, but we've had our fingers burned in the past. As far as Whittingham was concerned, I think he eventually became conscious that not only was he unpopular with Morecambe fans, he was unpopular with practically everybody in football. There was pressure being put on him from the government as well, as much as they could, because the regulator isn't in place, as we're aware. But the fact that you've got senior politicians writing to him saying, look, please do the right thing. We did have this 20th of August deadline approaching. And I think you've got to give the National League some credit there, because there is a limited amount of things that the football authorities can do. But this is one way of pressurising. We saw a similar approach taken by the EFL towards Di Yonga at Reading, which led to him selling the club. So that's where we are. I think he was just trying to nickel and dime. I think he was just trying to extract a bit more money. And we don't know whether there was a higher offer that was given by Panjab Warriors. There is a belief that they'd already put in substantial funds to allow the club to pay the bills over the course of recent months. We don't know the exact details of it, and it could be that they've stood firm. And it's not dissimilar in some ways to, I suspect, what we might see in a week and a half's time when it comes to the closure of the transfer window. We know that there are some clubs who have players that they want to get rid of. The rather, I don't know where this phrase "bomb squad" comes from, but players who have been marginalised that aren't allowed to. Players are up for the market, and let's say that player X is up for 50 million. We know that there's a potential suitor for that player. If I was the buying club, I'd put in a bid of, let's say, 30 million at 10 p.m. on the last day of the window. So there's this brinkmanship, and it's part of negotiations. And in negotiations, you have strengths and weaknesses, and you have deadlines and so on. So that's where we are. But, the good news, and it has to be stressed, there's a football game taking place in Morecambe this Saturday. And ideally, the price of football is not going to be talking about Morecambe for a long, long time.
Wouldn't that be lovely? But in the meantime, the next couple of minutes, there's still one or two things I want to clarify, if that's all right. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for them to stay up, you'd imagine, in the circumstances, Kieran, but I think that's the least of Morecambe fans' worries at the moment. And I imagine the atmosphere on Saturday is going to be fantastic. I think the joy and the relief amongst the fans is going to be fantastic. Could you just remind me, Kieran, what the 20th of August deadline was? What would have happened had the club not been sold by the 20th of August?
Yes, the National League had a meeting scheduled And my understanding, one of the items on the agenda is that Morecambe FC have missed their first 2 or 3 matches of the season because they've been suspended. One of the proposals would be, if we believe that Morecambe cannot fulfil its fixtures, should Morecambe Football Club be expelled from the National League? And they have to do that. You've got to make decisions which are fair on all of the other clubs who are in the competition. So I absolutely understand why that was the case. And if they had been expelled, then players, there's no point having players with contracts. The manager loses the job. Everybody loses the job. And what people, again, perhaps aren't familiar with, I've got the Morecambe accounts. It employs 200 people. In a town which isn't particularly, not necessarily all of those people are full time, but there's still a substantial number who are. And even if it is a part-time job, it's still a part-time job. If you talk to the local publicans, if you talk with the people at local hotels, they say, yeah, when Morecambe are at home, we'll get a few people staying with us overnight, and we'll certainly get an uptake in terms of pints sold and so on. So it does have an impact upon the economy of the surrounding area as well, that ripple effect that football brings.
And finally, Kieran, and I genuinely pray to God this is the last time I have to mention this twat's name, but people have been asking me this question in some disbelief. The way things stand, there's absolutely nothing to stop Jason Whittingham buying another football club at the moment, is there, if he can prove that he's got the money to do so?
That is correct. Under the rules, he has not been involved in an insolvency event involving a football club. He does not have any outstanding convictions. He is therefore free to acquire a football club. Whether somebody would want to sell, because I think any current owner who was seen to be selling a football club to Jason Whittingham would be getting pelters from fans. But it could be that that owner is thinking of emigrating. Well, they will be thinking of emigrating if they're not already, to put it mildly. Or they just simply don't give a damn. Yes, he's not being good. Social media can be a force for good and bad, and there's a lot of bad, sadly. And I'd just like to say, fantastically well done to the young lady of Kilmarnock FC, who scored her first goal on Saturday in a 4-0 victory after she'd been absolutely appallingly trolled after signing a contract. So there are some reprobates out there on social media. But yeah, I found out an awful lot about Jason Whittingham. I know where he lives, I know his phone number, and I know the day when he passed his motorbike test because he put it up on YouTube.
Oh, that's a relief, Kieran. Yes. I'm genuinely pleased to hear that was in the public domain. Do you know what I think swung the sale? I think the reason he finally gave in was when you contacted him and said, "Would you like to be interviewed by the Price of Football?" And I think he probably went, I'll sell it. I can't go through that. He could have just said no, obviously, but an alternative. Well, I just really hope that Morecambe fans have a brilliant day on Saturday. I really do. And I hope, as you say, the sun shines, which is unlikely. It's very unusual for me to say that about any circumstances, but I hope the sun shines for them and the pints are flowing.
Absolutely.
Now, as I hinted the other day, Kieran, on the questions, Palace fans are secretly delighted that we are the first ever club in the Premier League to be penalised for a rule that most people didn't know existed. I think Aston Villa fans might be just as secretly delighted because they've been fined for a rule. I had no idea how you even broke this particular rule, Kieran, but talk us through it.
Yes, Aston Villa have been fined £125,000 by the Premier League for breaching the multiball rules last season. So I spoke, and this is genuine, I spoke to the secret ball girl. I spoke to...
How did we recruit a secret ball girl?
We've got fans from all different points of the footballing compass. So I had a chat with the secret ball girl. And she told me that this was changed. I think it was changed in 23-24. That historically you were allowed, your job was to get the ball and give that ball to the players. But it was noted at some grounds, and mutterings had been made, that some ball boys and ball girls, I think they're called ball associates or ball assistants now, that they were quicker at returning balls to the home team when they were winning and slower when they were losing, or vice versa, slower when the clubs were winning, and so on. So therefore, the Premier League noticed this and said, "Yeah, actually, we think you got a point." And it's gamesmanship stroke cheating. If that policy is coming from the club. So the system that it now exists in place is that there are 13, I'm not quite sure why it's an odd number, but there are now 13 cones dotted around the match, around the pitch, at the perimeter. And the job of the ball assistant is to put the ball onto the cone unless, and I've been through the small print here, I had a long chat with our secret ball girl, unless it's the goalkeeper. You can give the ball back to the goalkeeper. But the accusation that was made against Aston Villa, which meant that this became an issue, was that Villa were playing at home to Spurs, one of the matches towards the end of last season. I think it was the referee noted that there were an awful lot of ball assistants at the end that Villa were attacking, and relatively few at where Villa were defending. And this was a match. Villa were going for Europe. Spurs were crap last season, as we all know. But Villa needed the 3 points. So I think it was reported. And then when they did their homework, they realised that this had happened on 5 occasions. I think Villa had been spoken to beforehand as well about it. So therefore, Aston Villa have been given a £125,000 fine. You say, okay, it's not good, but they have been banned from using the multiball system for the first 3 home matches of the 25-26 season. So there's only going to be one ball, which the referee will have, and there will be another ball, which will be kept by the 4th official. So this is
well,
this is modern football.
What happens if it goes out of the ground in someone's garden?
Well, yeah, it's not Shrewsbury, though, is it?
It's in the river. Shrewsbury wouldn't be able to do that, would they? This is... all I can suggest, Kieran, is that someone at the Premier League, like yourself, is in hospital at the moment with a leg intraction and nothing else to do except flick through the rules and go, I think Aston Villa may have slightly broken our multi-ball rule.
But it is cheating.
I suppose. Yes, it is, I suppose. But I mean, it depends how you define. Yeah, okay, yeah, it is by. Yeah, it's not cheating, is it? I mean, some 14-year-old kid. I mean, you know what the kids are like. They just they don't know what direction they're going. They're probably full of hormones. They don't know which direction to throw the ball in. They've got a ball in their hand in front of. Two friends of mine were ball boys when Palace played Real Madrid, bizarrely, very early in the 1960s. I don't know how Real Madrid had accepted this invitation, but when our floodlights opened back in the early 1960s, Palace played Real Madrid in the friendly, and two mates of mine were ball boys at that game. But the only caveat being that it seems to me there were more ball boys in that crowd than there were the crowd. Because I know about 75 other blokes of my age who claim they were ball boys at that game. So that would have been a proper multi-ball system. Bad Aston Villa, naughty Aston Villa, cheating like that. Game's gone, Kieran.
Game has gone.
Game's gone.
If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes it incredibly easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/promo. Go to shopify.com/promo.
Get lost in the acoustic brilliance of 3D audio that surrounds you. Feel the embrace of the massage seats that adapt to your every move. Experience the warmth of a vehicle that welcomes you as you approach. We could tell you what makes a Lincoln SUV so extraordinary, but don't take our word for it. Take it on a test drive at the Lincoln Summer Invitation, with exclusive offers on now, only at your local Lincoln retailer.
You mentioned Morecambe's arrears with HMRC. They're very much not the only club at that level in the same sort of situation.
That's right. A firm of accountants has done this, and firms of accountants have now realised that the best PR is football-related PR, because it will be picked up. That there were 20 clubs when they did their investigation that have an arrears with HMRC. Now, overall, the sum just over £1 million. You might say, well, that's 50 grand each. That's not a huge amount, but it's still an arrears, and this has resulted in HMRC sometimes taking action. Sorry about that. He heard the Baroness making her cuppa. He knows the difference between the coffee machine and the tea machine, or the kettle, as we call it, because he drinks tea, but he doesn't drink coffee.
Yeah, I'm only a pub vet, Kieran, but I don't think giving coffee to a dog's a particularly good idea. I mean, Finley's active enough as it is without filling up. You sure that's why he's gone? He's not in arrears with HMRC, is he? Is that right?
Could be.
Does he drink tea that you give him, or does he just nick it out of the mug that you're drinking from?
Well, but I don't drink hot drinks, of course. Baroness. So she now gives him half of a cuppa each time, and then followed by wonky chomp, because that's how we rock and roll down in sunny Sussex.
As long as she's not doing it with the evening martini, we're all good. So can I just ask you, on the clubs in arrears with HMRCs, obviously I work in an industry that's full of freelance people, and HMRC, I have to say, in general, they do take a long time to answer the phone, but in general, they are friendly, polite and respectful, and they're only too happy to help you find ways to pay tax in our industry, especially after COVID, when we all were given a tax break, so we're all catching up. So a lot of people in our industry are paying their tax in instalments. Is that an option that is available to football clubs as well?
Yes, I mean, you are absolutely right. HMRC are not the scary ogre that perhaps we were brought up on in 1970s sitcoms. They are progressive in the sense that they want you as an individual, you as a business, to be in a position to provide them with the appropriate amounts at the appropriate time. So they do listen. They will come up with payment plans that if a club can't pay money. And also football has just been through its worst period. June and July are nightmare months for football. You've got no matches taking place. You've still got ongoing financial commitments. If you've got season tickets, the season tickets were probably renewed in March, April and May. So they are but definitely the worst months. I mean, looking at the list of clubs here, I just wonder if this report, they actually did their research a few months ago, because a few of our naughty step stalwarts, such as Reading and Southend, were on it. I'm just going, well, hold on. I wonder if I suspect those issues have now been sorted. So it might actually reflect where we were before those deals went through. It's noticeable that the arrears is nearly always in respect of PAYE. And I think that will become an issue because, as we know, that the national insurance rates went up from the 6th of April. There's no indication of corporation tax, but you only pay corporation tax on profits, and football clubs, as we know, don't make profits.
So that the PAYE thing, that strikes me as more serious because they've collected tax from their staff and they haven't passed that on.
That's right. Because whenever you receive your monthly salary, of course, you receive it net. So therefore, your employer has deducted your tax on your behalf, and it is legally obliged to hand that across to HMRC. So again, it's cheating the system if it's deducting the tax and not paying it across.
There's another story here about the Premier League, Kieran, which kind of puts into context the multi-ball rule fine. It's nonsense. And now there's a story about the Premier League and its funding deal with Kick It Out. You go, come on now, this is a much more serious issue.
Yes. First of all, Premier League does get involved with lots of charities, does lots of fantastic work, and that should be applauded. Yeah. My understanding, having spoken to some other charities about this, just to try to get a broader picture, is that the Premier League has reduced the funding deals for all charities from 3 years to 12 months. And I spoke to one of the charities about it, and they said, well, first of all, there is a feeling, and I think perhaps this could be a little bit over concern, that there was a feeling that because of the uncertainty about the legal costs being incurred by the Premier League, there's some, as we know, there's some big cases going through at present. How much does that leave for other other activities? There's also the regulator is now coming down the track. What about the impact on the EFL settlement? My view on that is that the Premier League's had 3 years to come up with a deal with the EFL and has singularly failed to do so. And there's various things I could say about it, but I don't want another finger-wagging phone call from the Premier League. So when I spoke to our secret charity contact, they said 3 years sounds good, but actually it's not that good. And that's, we're not blaming the Premier League here because they are very generous, but they are incredibly bureaucratic. So they said for a 3-year deal, we spend the first year trying to agree what exactly we're trying to deliver, and the last year they're trying to get the extensions. It's a bit like being, if you talk to a politician, they say we've got the first 100 days where we can get policy through, and the next 3.5 years we're clearing up messes. So it's that our secret charity contact said the Premier League wants to negotiate, but they're more concerned about what they don't want, and they've got no idea of what they do want from a result of this. And yes, they want to get some positive publicity, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They are providing funds to good causes, and I'm hoping we'll be able to announce something with a well-known charity soon, which is also partnering with the Premier League, and that at present is going through the system. So as our secret charity person said, it's a bit like the Monty Python cheese shop sketch where you just keep throwing random names to try to give them deliverables. So if this is affecting all charities, which I think is a cause for concern. There are many fantastic causes. There are many brilliant people out there, but fundraising is an issue, and ongoing and repeat fundraising is absolutely critical to their ability to deliver for all of the good causes which they're involved with.
It's a good job Ali's not here to hear you mention the cheese shop sketch. She would go, "Oh my God, he's mentioned the cheese shop sketch." You'll set him off again.
Is that one of your least favourites?
Yeah, that's the only way to describe Monty Python for me. Yeah,
you're not a fan, are you?
No. The cheese shop sketch, like most of them, it just starts off, you go, that's all right, and then 15 minutes later, you're going, Christ, he's still doing this. it just gets less and less funny each time. Also, racist and misogynist, but that's for a different pod. The Premier League, Kieran, I have some insight of Premier League funding through Palace for Life, the foundation. Although it's all taking place at levels mainly way above my comprehension, but it's just not a good look when the Premier League are fining Aston Villa £125,000 and at the same time reducing the length of its funding deal with Kick It Out, for example. I mean, and the trouble is for many charities that the Premier League contribution and the length of the deal gives them some confidence that they can carry on with their work. A 12-month deal is brilliant, of course it is, but it gives them no way to plan for the future. And it's just, whatever the reasons for the Premier League doing this, they still have enough money to fund most of the deals. And I can only underline what you say. The Premier League is involved in some sterling work. There's some really, really good projects being funded by the Premier League, and some really good projects that the Premier League are undertaking on their own behalf. So it's just slightly disappointing when you see that. We've seen in the last 2 or 3 days, Kieran, since the Premier League season started, that we still need Kick It Out, unfortunately, and we still need similar groups. So it's not like their problems gone away, and they need funding. Lana Diara, I'm sure, pretty much just wants this whole thing to be over, but he's in contact with FIFA now, I understand.
That's right. Lawyers acting for Lana Diara, and for people not familiar with the case, he was playing for Lokomotiv Moscow and wanted to transfer. They wouldn't let him move. They also put him on lower wages. They fined him when he was unhappy with things. But he took a case against FIFA and appeared to win that case. I think this was led by the lawyers who were also involved, of course, in the Bosman case.
Yeah, who we spoke to.
I know. I've had a few calls with Jean-Louis in the past few weeks. Nearly always, and this is terrible ratio stereotyping. Nearly always involving him phoning me from his bicycle because he's Belgian. I'm going, Jean-Louis, what's that noise in the background? It's the trees. It's the bushes. And he's a fascinating guy. Absolutely fascinating guy. On acting on behalf of Lana Diara, they are seeking €65 million from both FIFA and the Belgian Football Federation, effectively for restraint of trade. The belief that the football transfer rules do not comply with EU labour and competition law. And this is the route that they've gone down there. And because they've not managed to come to an agreed settlement with FIFA, it's not like FIFA to drag their heels when it comes to paying money out. And there's a very good story in Josimar taking place in the last day or two. Remember the 2010 World Cup, and Shakira had that sort of very catchy World Cup song, which is unusual for a World Cup song. All of the money was supposedly going to charities, and that money seems to have dried up.
You amaze me.
Yeah, I know. Just as well you sat down, because otherwise you'd be forced to sit down. So there's various weird and wonderful things going through. That's an interesting one. I just wonder whether that might have an interest to a young Swedish man. On the northeast coast as well.
We will be talking about the Isak story soon, I think, Kieran. At the moment, it's more of a legal story than a financial one, I think, but it's worth mentioning because just this morning, we're recording on Wednesday mornings, it's all got very he said, she said, because he issued a statement last night through social media, which Newcastle have now completely denied, because he claims that someone unnamed at the club said, no, it's fine, you go wherever you want. And now Newcastle saying we've never said anything of the sort. I mean, the money involved is fairly eye-watering. I mean, it's Palace fans are having to get used to the fact that whether we've won the FA Cup or the Community Shield or not, we're still a small club in the Premier League, and therefore the target of predators, bigger clubs. That's how football fans feel at the moment. It's like if a big club wants our player, the big club was likely to get the player. But when we're heading into a situation where Newcastle United also feel they're the targets of predators, when Newcastle United, a club I think will probably be in the Champions League next 3 or 4 seasons running, and you wouldn't put money on them not winning the Premier League at some stage in the next 3 or 4 seasons. So they're a bigger club than Palace are, but still they don't feel that they can fight off other clubs who Isaac himself obviously thinks are bigger. But I think it's probably best for us to wait until we get more information and know more about the deals on offer. But it's just frustrating for them. It's another of those things where if you're just a fan of football, it's one of those things that it does make you think, everything is out of our control, isn't it? Everything.
That's right. And having the window close before the start of the season would make life a lot more transparent.
It would. I'll tell you what else would help as well. And Gareth Southgate wouldn't do this. Thomas Tuchel saying that he wants his England players to be playing in the Champions League doesn't help. And Gareth Southgate, who understands English football more than most, well, I don't think he would have made that comment, because suddenly you got players like Mark Gahey and Eberiche Eze who are going, well, I want to play for England, I need to be a Champions League team. And I'm sure Thomas Tuchel didn't necessarily think that one through, but we should qualify and say there probably never has been a time, Kieran, when fans had any control over what was going on. But at the moment, it really feels like everything is out with. So I'm saying out with because we interviewed Neil Doncaster, who does head of Scottish football, who says things like out with now, because I love that expression, out with. This is a huge story, Kieran. We hinted about this. Oh, sorry, by the way, I forgot to mention, talking of Jean-Louis and transfers, we've had the first indication in the press. There's a potential mega case coming up that could render all transfers redundant in the past 5 years in terms of restraint of trade, which again is something we will need to talk about in more detail. Yes.
And sometimes that's been discussed by somebody on a bicycle.
Yeah, he don't do things by half, that boy, does he?
No.
This is a story that was brought to our attention, Kieran, by somebody involved in the Indian Super League, and it's a quite disturbing one.
That's right. There is a genuine danger that the Indian Super League could collapse. It could be shut down completely. We always associate India with being a cricket country and being a hockey country as well. Yeah, they've always been fantastic at both of those sports. But football is huge in India as well. I think people underestimate the level of interest, especially in the Premier League and so on. And there has been an Indian Super League which has been set up, but there's been a fallout, I think, between one of the parties that provide it with funds, and this is called a master rights agreement. And the company that provides it with sort of the commercial payments, and it looks as if the deal, which was due to finish in 2025 in December, is not being renewed, and because there's no guarantee of somebody stepping in to provide sort of the commercial backing, players don't know whether they can be paid beyond December. Clubs are saying, well, we don't know whether we'll have enough money coming in. We always say that there's 3 sources of football: broadcasting, match day and commercial. The broadcast deal for the Indian Super League isn't great, let's be honest. Match day, ticket prices are pretty cheap. Attendances tend to vary. So what's happened is that the restart, as far as the 25-26 season is concerned, that's been delayed indefinitely. Clubs aren't paying salaries on quite a few cases. Jobs have been cut at individual clubs, and the Indian Super League is is trying to attract international players, international managers. So I know players that have gone there to both coach and play. And India is a huge country, as we all know. So there's a genuine concern and there's a genuine danger that the Indian football ecosystem is going to collapse at a professional level.
The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox is on Hulu. In 2007, Amanda Knox was studying abroad in Italy. She had no idea her dream would turn into a nightmare. Inspired by the actual events of her wrongful conviction and 15-year fight for freedom, watch the new Hulu original series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
It would be interesting to try and get hold of somebody to put more meat on his bones, Kieran. We all know, I mean, it's a terrible cliche when one talks about India, that the extremes of wealth in that country. But you would imagine they would have enough money. The people in India who are wealthy are very wealthy. Mm. So it's interesting that the Indian Super League could collapse for want of money. I mean, especially when you say the cricket in India, the IPL, it's astonishing amounts of money.
IPL's
astonishing amounts of money.
Yeah.
So you would imagine that they'd be able to keep this going for as long as they needed to in terms of finances. But if it's not making any money or attracting many fans, then I suppose business is business.
That's right. And I don't think there's that relationship between owners and clubs in India that exists here in the UK, where quite often it's a local wealthy fan who wants to make their mark. I mean, I was in radio on Northern Ireland a couple of hours ago talking about Derry City, where the owner's putting in £2 million a year to fund the expansion of Brandywell Stadium and to keep the lights on as much as anything else.
Yeah. One of my uncles used to play for Derry City.
Did he?
Yeah, he also claimed that he knew a mermaid. So,
did she play for Derry City as well?
I think there would have been problems with her playing.
Yeah, I hadn't thought that through, had I?
Mainly the attitude to women back in those days, Kieran.
Yes.
He knew how to sort out the banshee as well. If you did accidentally hear a banshee. Although if you did accidentally hear a banshee, it's probably him coming home pissed, to be perfectly honest. But he did show us a picture of him in a Derry City kit. I suppose the other problem, Kieran, if you're trying to establish football in India, the other problem is that so many fans in India will have an English club already, basically, and we'll probably see an Indian fan club for Morecambe now as well, with the link there. So that's very difficult, isn't it? If you've got people who already support a football team, and if they support a Premier League team or an EFL team, can watch that team every week on telly as well, and it's a relatively new sport, then attracting people into the ground is a tough one, isn't it?
Yes, we've got limited eyeball space.
Yeah,
and that's one of my reservations about the abolition of the 3 p.m. blackout. Just how many games of football do we need to watch at a weekend? We're week one into the season, and I've skipped quite a few already. It just gets a bit OTT.
I've reached the stage. I've started watching a few games, and then I think, there's an old bargain hunt on. I might watch that instead. It's just very few games ago. I'm just thinking about a mermaid playing football now. How the old magic sponge would have to be coming on every 3 minutes, wouldn't it? I would have thought. Exeter City, Kieran, are a team that we like and a club that we admire. And we've spoken to them on more than one occasion. But this is an interesting story coming out of there.
That's right. Exeter City, they get one of my gold stars every time they produce their accounts each year. They go above and beyond the statutory requirements. They're very open. They're very transparent, and they make a small profit every year. And that is a function of being a fan-owned club. And we've had this discussion about the merits and demerits of fan-owned clubs, and we've come to the conclusion that there's a natural ceiling. You can't go beyond League One, because once you get into the Championship, it's such a loss-making exercise. You can't expect fans to subsidise the clubs. But there was an AGM or an EGM at Exeter City, because it looks like over the course of this summer, the club had to go to the trust and borrow £400,000 in order to pay the bills. And by all accounts, this was because they hadn't been too smart, the football club, in terms of their budgets. And budgets are dreary things. But I'm an accountant. I'm used to this. But the whole point about a budget is that it gives you green flags and red flags, which aren't a lot of help to me when I'm colourblind. But the red flags, it's useful to know when you're going to have a cash crisis in advance. And then you can do something about it. By all accounts, the assumptions that had been made at the football club were ambitious. I think that the club had lost the chair and the chief executive, which meant that senior management were perhaps new to the job, and things have become a bit messy. So the club, by all accounts, is having an independent investigation, or an internal investigation as to why it ended up in this mess. But at a fans or supporters trust meeting, which was described as lively, I think we both know what that means. There was a case put forward that shouldn't the trust itself have a review as to how the football club got into this mess. And this, to me, this is indicative. Something I've been involved in insolvency for many, many years ago, and I saw this happen at a variety of businesses. Even a profitable business things can turn around and things become very negative very quickly, because there's a difference between profit and cash. And I've always said that cash is king, and there's not enough emphasis on cash in the world of football. But I just hope that this gets sorted out ASAP. Up the Grecians, it's great that we do have institutions like AFC Wimbledon and Exeter City, but both of those clubs have had financial challenges in recent years, and that's the downside of a fan-owned club.
Two things, Kieran. I presume an independent review doesn't come cheap.
No, unless you've got people at the trust who are from a finance background, and they say, "I'll do it on a pro bono basis." If you're going to employ a firm of accountants, it ain't going to be cheap.
Secondly, I mean, well done the trust for having £400,000 spare to pass to the club. But is this anything for Exeter fans to worry about? I mean, is this a sort of amount of money that could lead to them having further problems?
I don't think so. Most players will be on 1 and 2 year contracts. Exeter have benefited because didn't they sell Ollie Watkins to Villa? So I think they've had not only the fee, but there were some add-ons. And this is a terrible thing. It will be really good for Exeter City if Ollie Watkins gets transferred in this window. Going back to what we're talking about Aston Villa. Aston Villa fans have a right to be aggrieved about the PSR rules at present, as do a few other clubs. So it's a strange set of connections between clubs. I don't think that they're in a crisis, but this was, in my view, this was a mess that was foreseeable.
Better news for Oxford United, Kieran.
Yes, I'm going to the Kassam Stadium next Wednesday for the League Cup match, which is quite good because I went to the old stadium, so I tick off stadiums where I've seen my football club play. So this means this is Oxford Mark II, and I've got Everton away on Sunday. So that's another stadium. It will come as no great surprise to you that this is all summarised on a spreadsheet.
None whatsoever. Well, that's
alphabetically organised as well.
That's better than my system, which is when we went to do the live gig in Rotherham. You say, "Have you ever seen Palace play?" And I don't know. Yes, and I haven't got a spreadsheet. I don't know. So
you see, you're missing out.
I know both systems have their merit, Kieran. You know.
Yes, they do. You've got a life and a personality and friends. I've got a spreadsheet.
You're doing all right. Don't you worry.
So great news for Oxford because the lease at the Kassam Stadium was due to expire relatively shortly. There was the issue that it was a three-sider stadium, which I quite like in some ways, for the maverick in me. But they've had a new 16,000 capacity stadium has been approved. They'll be moving ahead with this, and the aim is to move into it in 2 or 3 years. So it gives them a bit of peace of mind, and also they're going to be their stadium. So I was talking to somebody about this. What you've got to do is to move your football stadium from being a 30-day-a-year operation into a much larger one, and you can't do that unless you've got full control over it.
Yeah, and it's been quite a tricky planning process as well, because there are a lot of people in Oxfordshire who don't want a football club anywhere near their back garden.
That's right.
So well done to the club.
Fair play to them.
Our final story, Kieran, I think if you were to sit down and invent a story to make you happy, this would be there's no amortization involved in this story, Kieran, but this is right up Maguire's alley. This kit, this story.
This is absolutely fantastic. In I think it was 1978. I can still remember 1978. I can still remember a very, very young and a very, very bouncy Richard Jobson coming onto the stage at the Brighton Top Rank, and the Skids launched with "Into the Valley," one of the greatest post-punk songs of all time. And I still go and see the Skids every time they tour. And Richard, God bless him, he's still absolutely inspirational as a human being. But the Skids, for people unaware, are from the town of Dunfermline. And Dunfermline Athletic announced their third kit, which has been ordered and is sent on its way to Sussex, I can assure you, is based on the album cover of the Skids' debut album. And I'll be honest, it wasn't the greatest album cover, but I don't care.
It's a great kit. I love it. It's also taken my mind off the fact that Palace have released Leon's kit, which is basically baffling every single Palace fan out there. It's I'm also baffled by the idea of a chirpy Richard Jobson's. I've never associated him with chirpy before now.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's fair to say that he still dances as he did when he was 17 or 18 years old. But it is very noticeable that in between songs he needs a significant break. So what he's resorted to doing is to cracking jokes and doing anecdotes.
Well, really?
Oh yeah, and he cracks a good gag. I mean, I'm sure they're well polished, because I've heard quite a few of them on more than one occasion. I'm a regular watcher of the band. But yes, he's a good guy. Still a very handsome man.
You took the words right out of my mouth. He's a very, very, very handsome man. And some of our younger listeners, just go to your search engine and put "Into the Valley." It's one of the greatest intros, one of the best bits of bass playing, as you say, in post-punk history, Kieran.
That's right.
Don't forget, you can now join our Price of Football Club, where you'll get ad-free listening, bonus episodes, a monthly chat with us, where you can hear even more wittering about the skids and football kits. It's amazing how little we talk about football finance on our monthly Q&A pod. It's not a pod, is it? A Zoom, whatever. What are kids calling it these days, Kieran? You can do all that by going to priceoffootball.com and click on Join the Club to sign up today. If you've got a question you'd like answered on our regular Tuesday questions pod, then email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter X and find us on YouTube. And if you'd like to buy our book, you can find details on that same website, priceoffootball.com. Our interview with Neil Doncaster, head honcho of Scottish football, is available tomorrow, Friday, for those of you who aren't members of the club. Those of you who are have already heard it, I believe, or can already access it. And then we'll be back on Tuesday with that very same questions pod. In the meantime, I shall hand you over to Mr. Kieran Maguire for his customary farewell.
Well, thanks, as always. Thanks to our secret lawyers, our secret ISL correspondents, and most of all, I think, to our secret ball girl. I never thought I was going to say those words, but fair play to you. It's good to get the full story, and I did check it. I did get second sources as well. There's a variety of ways that you can support the club and support the show, and being members of the club is one of them. But that costs money, and times are tight. We're fully aware of that. There's another way you can support the show, and that's to give us a review. If you just keep that ticking along, it genuinely makes a difference as far as the charts, as far as the some of the guests do actually say to us, what's going on with your reviews? but it doesn't seem to act as a barrier to them. So as long as you scribble something, take you 30 seconds, we would really appreciate it. You could even say you would rather the show presented by Michael Gove and Richard Jobson. And I would imagine that would be quite a combative show.
It would. Yeah, one of them would be more lively than the other one, I imagine. Richard Jobson would be saying to Michael Gove, blink, just for the God's sake, blink, will you? While we're dishing out the plaudits to our secret, I'd like to take my hat off to the person who dubbed the upcoming Palace Forest game on Sunday as El Casico. Very good bit of work that I'm sure many journalists over the weekend will be claiming as their own. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The price of football. The price of football.